What's up, guys? Today is going to be a fun one, probably a pretty quick one. We're going to be doing the optional syntax sheet section of the Elixir Getting Started guide. And I don't know, this will be fun. We can play around, start a little project and write some if blocks in some different ways. And yeah, I think it'll be fun. So welcome, guys. Let's see if chat is working today. Let's see, cross our fingers. Oh, I don't think it's gonna work. Dang it. I need to find a different solution. This randomly working chat is not cool. But anyways, let's go ahead and I'm gonna open up Safari and let's go ahead and go to elixir-lang.org. And I gotta share my screen. I'll make this a little bigger for you. I feel like I should like zoom in like that too. What do you think? That looks really good. I had someone comment that it was hard to see on mobile, but I really don't want to have like zoom in buttons and stuff when I'm live. I just feel like it'd be really distracting. Then we're going to go to guides and we're going down to optional syntax sheet. Guys, we only have 2 more sections after today in the Elixir Getting Started guide. Then we're going to have to do something else. Maybe Phoenix or Phoenix Live View or Ash. I don't know. I'm going to have to get some input from you guys. All right. I'm going to look at chat one more time. Yeah, it's not working. It's a bummer. All right. So today, optional syntax sheet. In the previous chapters, we learned that Elixir syntax allows developers to omit delimiters in a few occasions to make code more readable. For example, we learned that parentheses are optional. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up our terminal. I'll make this bigger. That looks good. I'm going obnoxiously big today. All right, so let's start our IEX shell. And so we learned that you can write functions. So we can say length, and then in parentheses, we can pass in a list with variables or values 1, 2, and 3 inside, just like that. But we also know that we don't have to use the parentheses on a function. So we can do length space and then just pass in our list of integers. So when we do this, these two things are equal. All right. So, and that do end blocks are equivalent to keyword lists. All right. So this is cool as well. Either my memory is really bad or we didn't actually go over this, but this is good to know. So if we do if true do, we're going to do a multiple line thing here. We're going to return this and then else. We're returning Adam that and then and. Obviously, when we press enter, we're going to get this back, right? So doing an if else block like this, it's the same thing as writing. We can do if true, comma, do colon, and then return the Adam this. So we are doing a keyword list here. So we have an Adam do and a value Adam this, and then comma, we have our Adam key else, and then we can return that. And when I hit enter, we get this back. So those two things work exactly the same way. So keyword lists use Elixir's regular notation for separating arguments, where we separate each key value pair with commas, and each key is followed by a colon. In the do blocks, we get rid of the colons, the commas, and separate each keyword by a new line. They are useful exactly because they remove the verbosity when writing blocks of code. Most of the time we use block syntax, but it is good to know they are equivalent. These conveniences, which we call here optional syntax, allow the language syntax core to be small without sacrificing the readability and expressiveness of your code. In this brief chapter, we will review the 4 rules provided by the language using a short snippet as a playground. All right, so we're going to do a walkthrough here. And we have a couple, so we have some code here, if variable, call this. And then they break it down into all the different syntax options that we can write the same thing through. I'm going to just do a walkthrough with real functions and code so we can see it in practice. All right, so I'm going to pull up my terminal. I got to get out of the shell, Control C twice, clear, and I'm going to CD to my desktop, and we'll just make a new project, so mix new, and we'll call this syntax, and then I'll CD into syntax and clear to have everything at the top again. Hey, what's up, Richard? Glad to have you here. All right, so now we have a project, and I won't do everything in the shell and torture you guys with typos. So we can go ahead and open up our VS Code now. So code period, and we have our little starter project. I got to just see my screen for a second. I want to make sure everything is big enough. And I'll blow up this code a bit. Maybe that's obnoxious. We'll get rid of the little sidebar here. Is that good? Hey, thanks, Richard. I'm glad that you're here, man. All right, so we have a def module here, and what we're going to be doing is going through this walkthrough. So we're going to create some code with an if-else block, and then we're going to show that we can write it in different variations, and it's the same thing. So let's go ahead and in our syntax, I'm just going to delete the docs here and the mod docs, just so we can just see the code I'm writing. All right, so if I am going to do just a function here, inside, so syntax, let's go ahead and create a function called inRange, okay? And if I do def, and then we have a function called inRange, and it's going to take a number, and it's going to take a minimum and a max as well. And then inside of this, now we can do our if-else statement. So we'll write the first if-else statement the way we're used to writing it. So we can do if, and then we're just comparing num is greater than or equal to our min, and num is less than and equal to our max. And if it is, we're going to return in range. And if it's not, so else, we're going to say out of range. Okay? So we've all seen this before, and now we can go ahead and run this code and it will work, right? So if we go back to our terminal, and let's see, I need to do IX-S mix to compile our project here and open up the Elixir shell. And now if I do syntax dot in range and we pass it a number, let's pass it 5, and then the minimum is going to be 0 and the max can be 10, right? And look at that, we're in range. So our if statement works as expected. Now let's go ahead and go back to the docs, or the getting started guide. So we took the following code here. We wrote an if block and it works as we know it. So now let's remove the conveniences one by one. So do end blocks are equivalent to keywords. All right. So we can now do a keyword list instead of a do end block. So if we go back to VS Code, and now we're going to make another function. So we're going to, let's see, make another function that is going to use a keyword list now. So I'm trying to think what I should call this. We're going to call it in range, and we'll call this keyword. All right. And we'll put our question mark on it since it's just kind of doing a check, a truthy check. And then it's going to take our number, min, and max again. And then we'll do our do, if I can type, our do end block. And now we're going to write the same function, but instead of an if else do end block, we're going to do a keyword list. So if we say if num is greater than or equal to min and num is less than and equal to max, now we can do a comma here and put our keyword do and then our value that gets returned, which is in range, and then comma, and now our second key here is the else key, and then we can return out of range, right? So this is the same exact thing as above here, but now we're using keyword list. We removed our do and end and else. Well, not else, but else is now a key, and so is do. So we took out the block here, and it's a keyword. And now if we go to our Elixir shell, we can recompile. And now if we say syntax in range, we called it keyword, and we can do the same thing. Pass in 5, 0, and 10 is the max. And look at that, we get in range back. So it is working the same exact way. Pretty cool. All right, so now number 2, keyword lists as last argument do not require square brackets. But let's add them. So we removed the do end block, and we wrote a function, or our if else statement like this. Now we can do the same thing and put our keyword list inside of brackets so you can clearly tell it's a list. All right, now instead of typing, I'm going to copy and paste our in range here, and I'm going to call this one, we'll call this one brackets. Whoops, just the keyword. So now we're adding brackets. All right, and now all we have to do here is same syntax, but we're putting square brackets around our list here. So now it's a little more obvious that it's a key value list. And if we save this and now go to our terminal and recompile, and now we can call syntax.inRange, and I called it brackets. And if we pass in, let's see an else statement, right? So if we pass in 11 and we're still going to do 0 and 10, now we get out of range. So there we go. So with square brackets, it's the same thing. It's just a little more obvious that it is a key value list. Did it delete? It deleted my square brackets on save. Oh my gosh. Just leave it. Leave it for us. I'm going to have to turn off, I think it would be the language server. Let me see here. We can maybe do this in the shell just to prove the point. Yeah, let's do it in the shell just to prove this works. All right, so if I write this same exact function, we're just going to do it one line at a time. We'll set it, let's see, we have to, trying to think here. What's a good way? we'll set this function equal to, so we'll set it to a brackets variable. It's going to make me, oh, you know what? We can just do the if block. So if we do, all right, I'm going to copy and paste my code. All right, and I'm just going to run the if block here. And our number is, let's see, we did 11, and our minimum was 0, and 11 again, and our max was 10. So now this is the same thing, but we're putting brackets around to show that our list is it's the equivalence, right? So there we go. And my language server did not correct, or maybe it'd be my linter, but now you can see that with brackets, it's an equivalent and we're getting our out of range. So that is pretty cool. All right, so now we can do back to our docs. So keyword lists are the same as lists of 2-element tuples. So we can also put, so like a key value list is the same as putting tuples around each value. So we can do this, it's the same thing, right? And I have a feeling that my linter, or my IDE here is going to yell at me or correct it, but we can go ahead and throw each of these keyword values into tuples. It doesn't like my syntax. I knew it was going to yell at us. So we can just go ahead and move this over to our Elixir shell again. I'm going to just copy this. Well, so much for making it pretty syntax for you guys. So now if I do the same thing, I'm going to delete the square bracket list, and we're adding tuples to it now. So we have the same thing, but now our do and else keywords are wrapped in tuples. And when I hit enter, unexpected keyword list, did I put the square bracket on the wrong side? I sure did. So it actually might work. So a tuple needs a comma. I got ahead of myself with my copy and pasting. Oh my gosh, everything is huge. All right, so there we go. We need our atom, right? And now when I hit save, hey, it kept the syntax here. And we'll call this one tuples. Tuples. Save. And this is going to be the equivalent. So now if we go back to the shell, I'm going to clear this just so we can see. Let's recompile. And now if I call syntax.inRange tuples, and we can pass in the same thing. We can say 0 as our, or 5 as our value, 0 as the min, 10 as the max, and we get in range. So wrapping our keyword lists into tuples with an atom and a value is the same thing. All right. And now, finally, parentheses are optional on function call, but let's add them. So now we can write the same thing and wrap everything in our if macro here with parentheses, and it is also the same thing. So let's go ahead and try that. Back to our IDE. All right, I'm going to just copy and paste tuples. And we'll call this one explicit. And now we can wrap it and pass it in, like we can treat if like a function and then pass in everything inside just like that. So there we go. And now when we run this, it's going to return the same results. So let's go back to our IEX shell and recompile. And now if we call syntax.inRange and we call our explicit function. And now 5 as our number we're checking against, the minimum 0, the maximum 10, and there we go. So that is in range. So we just saw, I don't even know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways to write the same function. So that's pretty cool. So that's it. Those 4 rules outline the optional syntax available in Elixir. To understand why these rules matter, we can briefly compare Elixir with many other programming languages. Most programming languages have several keywords for defining methods, functions, conditionals, loops, and so forth. Each of those keywords have their own syntax rules attached to them. Excuse me. However, in Elixir, none of these language features require special keywords. Instead, they all build from this small set of rules. The other benefit is that developers can also extend the language in a way that is consistent with the language itself. Since the constructs for designing and extending the language are the same, we further explore the topic in the Meta Programming Guide. At the end of the day, those rules are what enables us to write def module math, and then we can say def add is our function. It takes A and B arguments and then adds them together inside of a do end block. And so we can write a module in a much more readable way instead of taking our def module macro and treating it like a function with parentheses and then a keyword list or a list full of tuples. So whenever you have any questions, this quick walkthrough has you covered. Finally, if you are concerned about when to apply these rules, it's worth noting that the Elixir formatter handles those concerns for you. Most Elixir developers use the mix format task to format their code bases according to a well-defined set of rules defined by the Elixir team and community. For instance, mix format will always add parentheses to function calls unless explicitly configured not to do so. This helps to maintain consistency across all code bases within organizations and wider community. All right, so let's go ahead and try that out. If I close out of our shell and I say mix, I already forgot because my brain is mix format. I was going to do mix formatter. So mix format, we run that, and let's see if it changed any of our code. It didn't. I don't know if it's supposed to. But anyways, I want to now find that because I actually have never used this before. Mix format. Oh, okay. So formats the given files and parameters, mix format. If any of these files, mix formatter.exs, force formatting to happen on all files instead of relying on cache. When to format code. We recommend developers to format code directly in their editors, either automatically when saving or via a file. All right. So we can add it. We can create a mix task.format. That's cool. All right. I want to see how this works though. So mix format and then our file name. Mix format. What is our file name? Syntax. I wonder if we have to do, wait a second. ls lib directory ls. Okay, it's in there. Okay, so if I do mix format and then we call syntax.ex, will this work? Maybe. Cool. Oh, nope. Wait. Did it change anything? No, it didn't. I might be doing it wrong, guys. I have no idea. I've never used it before. I feel like, well, obviously the formatter was working, and it didn't like, what was it, just brackets around? Yeah, because it removes them there. Let's go look at our mix file. No, there's not much going on there. I don't know. I got to learn how to use that function. But hey, what's up, polar bear baby? All right, guys. So we're going to end it there. And I want to learn how to use the formatter. I feel like I don't know how to use it. But so let's see, Thursday. Where's the guide I was on? Thursday, we are going to be going through Erlang libraries. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then next Tuesday, debugging is the last section in the Getting Started guide. And then I'm going to have to figure out, do I do metaprogramming or do we do maybe Phoenix? I don't know. We have a lot to decide and our chat's still not working, but I appreciate you guys for joining me. This was a lot of fun. And yeah. Oh, Friday, I have Andrew Stewart coming back on. Last time he came on, we talked about live view. And on Friday, we're going to be talking about the live view and interoperability of JavaScript. So I think it'll be an interesting conversation. It'll be a lot of fun. So you guys mark your calendars there. And yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you.
Enjoying the video? Show some love with a like and hit subscribe to stay updated. To support me and keep the content free, click join for memberships or pick up a course at elixirmentor.com and get free access to my private community. Let's jump back in.
Later, guys.